Average Dude has something to say about...
Everybody, welcome back. Now, I have spoken about a situation that we love to ignore in human society. The excessive daydreamers, the people that are walking down the street. They don't have Bluetooth. Their cell phones. They're just talking. Occasionally muttering to thin air. A couple facial expressions and maybe a finger pointing or something like that. And they're talking to thin air. There are people that daydream so much more than the average, regular, run-of-the-mill, normal person. And we've always known that these people exist, and yet for some reason we like to. And then I've talked about this in several videos now. I think it is beyond questionable that humanity is so unbelievably immature that it plays the let's pretend it doesn't exist game. It exists, okay? These people do exist. It's like the elephant is in a room, cuts the big, huge mega fart that only an elephant can do, and everybody in the room pretends that the elephant isn't there and that nothing smells. If you can't acknowledge that a big, humongous elephant is sitting in your room, do you really think that anybody's going to bother to acknowledge the smell from the fart of the elephant? How can you do that if you're not acknowledging that the elephant is there? It's ridiculous. Excessive daydreamers. Dr. Eli Sommer, PhD, coined the phrase maladaptive daydreaming. He actually put a label to this. And the scientific community, by and large, has completely peed on it. They don't take it seriously in the least. Last time that I talked about this, I had 2 videos, because it's been about a month or so, maybe a little longer. One was a message to normal people about maladaptive daydreaming, and the other one, the second one, was a message to maladaptive daydreamers. Now, not a lot is being discussed. Only a few people are willing to come out, so to speak, of the closet and talk about this. So I'm just going to go ahead and break some more ice because it needs done and it is way past the point. What is a maladaptive daydreamer's worst enemy? If you read about maladaptive daydreaming disorder, you are going to hear one buzzword over and over and over. Triggers. Triggers, 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 triggers. Oh, they're bad. They need to be avoided. It's not possible to avoid these triggers entirely. And you are going to hear it's the same crap that I've heard my entire life. When it comes to creativity, when it comes to just creative thought in general, don't do that. It's a waste of time. It's a complete waste of time. You're not being productive. Head out of the clouds, feet on the ground. Okay, there's a fine line between daydreaming your life away and how productive creativity can... You can be productive, and I hate this. They blame books. They blame movies, music, video games, because they... Heaven forbid that we ever try to learn more about what is truly the root of the cause. Alright? A maladaptive daydreamer's worst enemy is not movies. It's not television. It's not music. It's not video games. It's not books. It's not triggers, for that matter. Any of them. Give up. It's idle time, free time, personal time. This is what gets an excessive daydreamer. They're simply wired to daydream. Control, they just simply do not have. And they can try so hard. And this is what people that don't have maladaptive daydreaming disorder don't understand. They are trying. They're trying desperately. They want control and it is just simply not there. So free time is a big problem for maladaptive daydreamers. You know how the old saying, idle hands and an idle mind or the devil's playground? Well, it's horrendous for a maladaptive daydreamer. If they have free time, they're going to waste it. That's the reality. Okay, maladaptive daydreamers out there are probably going to completely, yep, preaching to the choir, been there, because of what I'm about to say. Okay, when every other member of your family leaves the house or the home, and the maladaptive daydreamer is left home alone, oh, we're going to be out for however many hours, and the house is yours, and then you have all this free time. Maybe might start watching television or something, but or even trying to cook or eat a meal or something productive, but it doesn't matter whether it's a trigger or something productive. Eventually, the maladaptive daydreamer will start to pace around the house over and over, and daydream the hours away. Whether it's upstairs, downstairs, in the basement, pace, stop, look up, like a yes or something, like some type of facial expression. Heck, they might even let the word out, yes or no or darn, because they cannot put a lid on it. Maladaptive daydreamers, especially when they are kids, they get made fun of when other kids they catch them in the act, and they're humiliated, and they're usually not the ones that end up with friends. So usually around middle school, those that want desperately to have friends, they learn to control it, so they will try to contain it, but it's like a cork in a bottle and the pressure inside. So when you are trying to control this and control it and contain it, then when the family leaves and a maladaptive daydreamer is left to himself or herself, guess what? You need to release that pressure. And walk, pace, daydream away, and then, no matter how many hours it's been, the family comes back and you have that uncomfortable, god-awful discussion. Oh, what'd you do while we were gone? Not much. Wait, what? We were gone for hours. You didn't do anything? You wasted all that time? And come on. What is the maladaptive daydreamer going to do? Tell the truth? Oh, yeah, I just kind of walked around the house back and forth for all those hours daydreaming. No, they're not going to say that, because if they did, oh boy, you can only imagine what the reaction would be of the family. Feel bad for these people. Free time, idle time is a big deal. But when it comes to the triggers, like I said, the triggers are a buzzword that you hear a lot. There's one trigger that gets overlooked, and I don't see it mentioned at all. And it needs to be the worst of the triggers. The worst of the daydreaming triggers is not movies, television, books, video games, and music, and hearing a song, and no. You want to know what the worst trigger is? Get ready for it, because you're probably not prepared. And this is the part that I imagine that maladaptive daydreamers are going to get very nervous about if they are watching this video. They probably don't want me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Get ready. Stress. Yeah, stress. Stress-induced daydreams and the emotions that go with them. We live in a world where people get horrible, awful news at the end of the work week, on like a Friday, like if a foreclosure notification or the loss of a job or something equally stupid, or anything, something that you desperately need that involves the family and the home, and you get this horrible, debilitating, life-changing bad news, and it's at the end of the work week, so that there's nothing that you can do, so that you have the entire weekend to stress over it. Because human society is run by a bunch of dicks. So, and think about this for a moment. Regular people, non-maladaptive daydreamers, people that are not used to this, they stress and their heart. Think about this. Stress kills like you wouldn't believe. You need to be able to resolve these situations, and when you have a weekend where you can't do anything, it's horrible for everybody, and everybody daydreams. So what happens is you think, okay, I have to call customer service or whatever phone number and talk to someone, be on an automated message and get nowhere. And what happens if, it never gets dealt with, and I finally get a hold of someone, and what am I going to hear? What are the stupid rebuttals? What are the excuses? How am I going to realistically be able to resolve the situation? Think about that. That affects regular, normal, everyday people that are not excessive daydreamers. And they will get worked up. And they will start thinking about this. And their minds will start racing. Imagine how bad it is for maladaptive daydreamers that run these scenarios. And I mean word for word. Conversations. Over and over and over, and then changing it a little bit each and every time, thousands of times over the course of a weekend. This is where you will hear those that admit to it, that they get headaches and migraines and hell, maybe even pass out, or stomach pains and even throw up. Stress is the worst trigger. It's the one that is potentially harmful to the maladaptive daydreamer. And let's not forget, every once in a while you will read a maladaptive daydreamer admitting to getting lost while taking a walk. And I'll explain that one. Okay? Especially for like kids. If you're growing up in a home, like I said, you're going to want to put the kibosh on it because we don't respect this. We don't want to admit it, so we're not going to talk about it. But what happens when these kids get out on their own when they graduate from high school? Like go to college? There's a big difference between high school and college. High school, you get homework. That's a significant portion of your grade. When you get into college, there's a lot of classes where you only have 2 chances at a grade. Midterm, final, that's it. 2. Imagine the stress. And because they have this freedom where they are on their own, they tell their roommate, I'm just going to go out and I just can't go to sleep. I'm going to take a walk. And they walk, stressing, daydreaming, walk, can't sleep. Is it any surprise that eventually they get so worked up, they absolutely lose all sense of where they are and get lost? Think about how bad this was to the older maladaptive daydreamers, the ones that didn't have cell phones prior to the days of cell phones being around. Hopefully they had money for payphones. Hopefully there was a payphone around. Stress is the worst trigger. Idle time is the biggest enemy that a maladaptive daydreamer has to deal with. And I'll talk more about this subject ongoing, but for now, take care.